So Donald Trump is the gift that keeps on giving. And due to his comments yesterday about not caring about Americans' financial struggles versus Iran having a nuclear weapon, has landed him as well as his defenders in hot water. In this clip, we're going to see MAGA sycophant, Trump loyalist Jason Rantz struggle to defend Donald Trump's comments, to the point where the entire CNN panel laugh at his comments in regards to the economy and it not struggling. As usual, let's watch the clip in full. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts, commentary, perspective towards the end. Let's get into it.
Good evening. I'm Abby Phillip in New York. We're in President Trump's economy now, and most people aren't happy with it. Tonight, the president is heading to China as the Iran war is driving inflation to its highest point in years. But as Trump pushes toward a peace deal with Tehran, he's made this stunning admission about Americans who are struggling to get by right now.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody.
Today, for the first time in 3 years, inflation has outpaced wages. That means that life is getting less and less affordable. And just to keep up with inflation, the average U.S. household now has to spend $319 more every month for the same things compared to January 2025. And tonight, new polling is showing that people are fed up with this. 77% say that Trump's policies have increased the cost of living. Another 70% don't like how Trump is handling the economy. And despite all of that, Trump continues to claim that things are booming.
Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising. The economy is roaring back. Thanks to these pro-growth policies, our economy is roaring. We have the greatest economy we've ever had. We're the hottest country anywhere in the world. The economy is going great. Gas prices are way down, and the stock market is way up today. Our country now is the hottest country anywhere in the world. We have this unbelievable economy. Grocery prices are way down. Used car prices are way down. The hottest, the best country anywhere in the world.
When we see inflation jumping up to a 3-year high, Rana, and now eclipsing wages, that is a predictable outcome of raising input prices, particularly gasoline.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, gas, food, these are the things that people really pay attention to when it comes to inflation. And what's interesting is even if we were to get some kind of resolution to the Iran situation in the next few weeks, which personally I don't think we're going to get, the pain would keep coming because gas takes months to get where it's going. The supply chains that feed, the economies that depend on that energy, these are things that are like dominoes. You know, if you remember way back to COVID or the beginning of the Ukraine war, the pain of those disruptions lasted for months, even if there were solutions. And so this is something that's not going away anytime soon. Gas is also the one price that Americans, all Americans almost, see every single day. Right. So it's a big deal.
And the president saying, I understand the point that he's making that Iran not getting a nuclear weapon is important to him. But the idea that he would also say that he doesn't think about the cost to Americans, that is beyond just a gaffe. It's also an admission of something that he's not paying attention to right now.
No, I don't think it's an admission of anything beyond how you negotiate. You would not give this kind of power to Iran. I think they're two separate issues. You've got the political issue, and I think he made a mistake politically in saying it in that way. But the reality is when you're negotiating with a terrorist regime, you're not going to tell them, I'm hanging on to this one piece so you can exploit it, thus we can't actually get to any kind of resolution. Strategically, from purely a standpoint of negotiation, it was a smart move, but he's taking it at a political cost. And I think that also points to him truly believing this, that he's not going to do what's politically right for him right now or for the Republican Party, because what he knows is an actual threat coming from Iran in the long term. And to the point that all the polling seems to indicate that we all kind of understand Iran can't have access to nuclear weapons, period, ever. And so he's taking some short-term pain. He hopes it's short-term for some long-term gain.
I don't think he's taking short-term pain. I think the American people are taking short-term pain. And I don't think the president has to say whether he cares or not about the American people in terms of, he's president of the United States. I would hope he cares about the American people.
He does.
And he doesn't need to. So he doesn't, I mean, whether you say it one way or not, the reality is Americans are suffering, and the actions that he is taking makes it seem like he's not going to do the things to stop them from suffering. Now, two things can be true. He could not do that, and he could also believe, as I believe, that Iran can't have a nuke. And yet, Americans don't want to suffer, and they are fed up with it. And the political costs will be consequential. Maybe not to him. I mean, he'll become a lame duck, but to the people of his party. And the question is, when will they turn on him? Because when they won't, he'll still have his seat in the Oval Office, but many people won't on the Hill.
Your point, I think, is very fair, but also looking at the CNN poll today is, I think, kind of interesting. While it's not good news for the president, undoubtedly so, but his numbers aren't actually moving in any real direction. He's been stagnant on his approval rating since I think it was October.
The dumps.
They're not good. But I'm saying, despite all of this, they're not continuing to dive down.
Let's take a closer look at the numbers. When you compare April 2025 to today, Democrats continue to disapprove, shockingly, of President Trump on the cost of living issue. Independents, more independents, 18% more disapprove now of the president than a year ago. Republicans, it's a 25% increase over a year ago. So there is definitely a shift happening, including among independents and within his own party, people who are blaming him for making their lives more expensive.
I think, though, when you're the president of the United States, I mean, you said it right, they're blaming him. Who else are they going to blame? He is 100% responsible, and that means he's responsible if things continue to get worse, or he's responsible and deserves all the credit if we exit Iran and things end up remarkably well. And I think when you look at the polling, obviously he's seeing it as well, right? He knows exactly what he was doing when he went into Iran. He's very worried about midterms. Yes, he'll be in the Oval Office, but he knows what happened in the first term, right? He remembers getting impeached time and time again. He wants to win these midterms 100%, and I think the polling is accurate. I think we all want a better economy. Whether you love Donald Trump or not, you want the numbers to be better, but two things can be true at once. You can want a better economy and yet still believe that when we're out of Iran and this is behind us, he is the only person, hands down, that could actually get costs down and bring us back to where we want to be.
I absolutely agree that Donald Trump is responsible for the current state of the economy. It seems like the Trump administration has been operating with the sole goal of inflicting as much damage on working Americans as possible. He took office and spiked 2.9% inflation up to 3.8%. Gas prices are up to $4.50 in most states. And he did this all while stripping insurance away from 10 million Americans. I think the most impressive part is the deficit hasn't even decreased at all. The deficit is still increasing year over year. And one more point I want to make is when Donald Trump took office, he and Elon Musk immediately gutted the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, right? This protected people like us from fraud, from predatory actions from banks or businesses. He gutted that. So Americans are not only worse off, Americans are not only struggling in their pocketbook, but we're more prone to fraud. I don't get how this makes us safer or better off at all.
You know, one of the things about Iran that really worries me, and I actually kind of agree with you in terms of what he had to say on air at that particular moment, but, you know, the whole Iran war is just bad news. It's bad news politically. It's bad news economically. It's not going away anytime soon. And interestingly, you know, we're about to go into a summit with China. The Iran war just handed China a huge weapon because America is depending more on fossil fuels. China's trying to become a clean tech leader, and this is only going to make them move faster in that direction and sort of push them into owning the industries of the future while the U.S. is stuck paying more for gas and the rest of the world is angry with us.
And also the question of when will this end is on everybody's mind, not just the Iran war, but the subsequent economic pain. Let me just play what some Americans across the country have been saying about what they're dealing with economically right now.
It's survival mode, and that's a mode that haven't been used to.
For me, a financial stressor is groceries.
Everything's gone up from the beef to the eggs.
I'm a junior, and I missed the whole semester of school because I couldn't afford housing. I want to have a house and have a family, and you know what I mean? Like my parents did.
Yeah, I mean, what that young man just said at the end there, that's also backed up in the numbers. 47% believe hard work is enough to get ahead. 38% believe they will ever buy a home. 34% say that they can't comfortably afford $1,000, and just 28% say that they can afford to take a vacation. The number one thing that this president was elected on was bringing the cost of living down, making people's lives better. And I think one of the core issues, and we'll get to more on the Iran war later in the show, but one of the core reasons this war is so unpopular is because many Americans don't believe that this was a necessary move right now. And they see themselves, by contrast, paying a pretty steep price at a time when they don't feel like that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, the problem here is, when is the right move? When do you actually get involved? When they have
in January.
Nuclear weapons capability? And the answer is, of course, no. So it is a fine line of trying to figure out when you're supposed to get involved. We've been having this conversation for decades, specifically on what to do with Iran, and the president decided now is the time. Now, that could be the wrong political move, and there are consequences economically for that. But we also have to look at the big picture. Every president has said we need to do something. He took a stance.
Yeah.
Debate the stance, totally fair. Debate the results of that, totally fair.
Obama took a stance, and Trump seems to be getting us to a worse
The stance
point.
that he took led us to a point where they were this much closer.
What does it tell you that
to not just
Trump is getting a worse deal?
Not just have more ballistic cover for their actual nuclear program, but also getting closer to that. That is a result of that.
Well, the CIA just came out with a report saying that Iran could maybe spend 3 to 4 more months with this blockade, and that would turn the global economy into a recession.
When you're the president of the United States, you have to look at the totality of circumstances, right? And so, if yes, Iran is one piece on the playing on the chessboard, but the American economy, you could say, was your queen, right? In this, in like the Iran might. I mean, I hate to put it like this, but might have been like your front row of pawns. But the economy to the American people were your queen in chess, and he exposed his queen. And so you lose the game when your queen becomes
politically. I think he exposed the queen.
Not just politically,
we have 2%. I'm sorry. We have 2% GDP growth. We have 10% increase in business investments in this country. That does matter.
GDP growth, just to be clear, is not some blockbuster number.
No, it's not.
We are not.
But we're pretending it's going in the opposite direction.
But it is not. That's coming off of a period in which GDP growth was less than 1%. We can't gaslight about the actual history. A whole year of virtually zero private sector job growth. GDP growth that was below 1% and only went up to 2% is not a victory.
But Abby,
it's a sign of an economy that is struggling.
I'm sorry, but when you say that there's growth and then they're struggling, it doesn't match.
Let me put it this way. It's a sign of a resilient economy, which suggests that it is taking headwinds.
Jason,
let me let Rana weigh in on that.
Well, also, I like your framing of the chessboard. I would actually say Iran's sort of a bishop. It's important, the U.S. economy is the queen. But here's what, if you're going to take the bishop, and I agree, you can say this is an important thing to do, you've got to get it just right. Iran is not Venezuela. Iran is a tough nut, maybe the toughest nut, aside from, say, the South China Seas, to crack. You go in, you knock out everybody we could have negotiated with, but the judges are still in place. The repression state is still in place, so people can't rise up. This was, an absolute screw up in terms of how it was done. And it is going to be a legacy for a decade for this country.
And there might have been reasons why other presidents did it different ways, because when you actually look at the totality of circumstances, you end up with an economy that is so fragile that your party can't stay in power.
But then you end up with the nuclear power.
We're going to have another discussion about Iran just coming up in the show. But next for us.
So there's a few things that it is that I want to say when it comes to this segment, and first and foremost I want to start with what Donald Trump said yesterday in regards to him not thinking about Americans' financial situation when negotiating with Iran. So the first part is this: that is Donald Trump saying the quiet part out loud. That is Donald Trump saying the quiet part out loud. Now, every working class person who voted for him literally thought that Donald Trump is someone who gets them. But the reality is he just told you exactly what it is that he thinks about you, your rent, your groceries, and your medical bills. And it also proves that the point that it is that he made was just a blatant lie. What he ran on was a lie. He is the individual who called himself the champion of the forgotten man. Not sure if you guys remember that, but the reality is the forgotten man is apparently still forgotten when it comes to Donald Trump. Because the guy who promised to remember him just made a statement that he doesn't care about Americans' financial situation. Now, him making that comment could only be one of two things. Either number one, he made a gaffe, and if he did make a gaffe, we need to question his his mental state. That's the first thing. Or number two, if we do need to question his mental state, this is a guy who spends all this time saying he's mentally astute more than anyone, or he literally means exactly what it is that he said. And I'll be honest with you guys, I believe it's the latter. Because if you take a look at this guy's administration this time round, all he's done is exactly what it is that he wants to do, regardless of all the repercussions. Now, the reason as to why I believe that he doesn't think about it is simply because he's just never lived it. And this is one of the core reasons why, for me as an individual, I've never understood why people vote against their own interests. Do you really think you can put a billionaire or a multi-millionaire into power and they're going to be able to relate to individuals who are earning a basic living, a basic wage? Of course not. That's not going to work. It's impossible. And you have to understand, Donald Trump was born into wealth. He was bailed out by daddy's money, 6 bankruptcies. And the reality is this, he's literally paid for things through life and had paid people to do things. And a lot of the times he's cut them out and not even paid them for what it is that they've done. He can't relate to the situation. And I said this in a prior video, I believe it was yesterday or the day before. He doesn't think about it because he's never lived it. This is why I don't understand people putting millionaires and billionaires in power. It just makes absolutely no sense. And then lastly, I want you to compare what he said to actually what's happening. Egg prices are up, rent is up, credit card debt at record highs. And the man in the White House is literally telling you that's not on his mind. Now, these people can, MAGA, Jason Rantz, these guys, they can cope as much as they want to when it comes to Donald Trump's comments saying Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. But the reality is this, there was already something in place where Iran could not have a nuclear weapon and they were abiding by it. All research, all reporting tells you they were abiding by it. It's only MAGA that will say to you Iran can't have a nuclear weapon and Donald Trump was the only person to do something about it. But the reality is this is a self-inflicted situation and it goes completely against the very thing that it is that he ran on. And this is the MAGA economy in one sentence: tax cuts for billionaires, tariffs that hit working people the hardest, and a president who openly admits he's not thinking about your struggle. He's not. And it's not on his mind. And all I'm going to say is this, running up to the midterms, Dems, they just need to be running this clip purely on a loop. Honestly, if I'm MAGA or I'm a Republican, I know behind closed doors, these guys hate what it is that this guy is doing. But I would really be worried after this, honestly, because that right there is political ammo when it comes to the midterms. If I'm a Dem, I'm just running this on repeat. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this clip in the comment section below. As usual, do the usual stuff, hype up the video, as well as hyping up the video. Do a massive favor, hit the subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up purely for the YouTube algorithm, and let's get it in front of as many people as possible. Appreciate you guys, and as usual, I'll see you guys in the next one.